Okay, so part of what you need to be able to do in order to graph using transformation is you need to be able to identify the parent function. So what we're going to be talking about with these 4 examples is just being able to how do you go about identifying the parent function, and it's a lot easier than you think it is. Okay, so really all you need to do is, if you're looking at a problem like this one, you just basically need to get rid of anything that is added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided onto your x. So for instance, in the first one, that would mean I wouldn't want to look at the 5, I wouldn't want to look at the 3, or I wouldn't want to look at the 7. And if I were to take those 3 numbers away, what would I be left with? And I would be left with an x that is squared. So my parent function for this one would just be f of x equals x squared. Okay, same thing with the next one. We want to take away anything that's multiplied, added, or subtracted, or even divided onto our variable to see what we have left. So in this case, that means we would lose the 1/3 here, and we would lose the -9. So the only thing left would be the cube root of x. So our parent function here would be f of x equals the cube root of x. And remember, along with being able to identify the parent function, you also need to be able to basically say, what does this function look like? So remember, for your x squared function, that's that U-shaped graph. It looks kind of like this. For our x cubed function, that's our sideways snake. It looks a little bit like that. Okay, so let's look at our next example here. We've got the square root of x minus 5 over 7 minus 9. Again, I'm going to get rid of the 7, the -5, the -9, and say, well, what am I left with? I'm just left with that square root of x. So my parent function would be f of x equals the square root of x. And again, being able to identify that would be the one that kind of looks just like his symbol. So the square root of x function. So the last one here, I would need to get rid of the 4 and the 5. Notice I'm not messing with the 1, because remember what I told you, it was multiplied, divided, added, or subtracted. So I'm okay with the fact that the x is dividing into the 1, because that's actually my function. That's the rational function of 1 over x. And again, the way that function looks, that's our L shapes. One of them is in the first quadrant, and one of them is in the third quadrant. Now granted, I'm just doing like a really rough graph to help you remember those functions. Again, it's super important that you have those memorized.